If you guys are still interested in getting into the real estate market in 2025 and you're wondering, is it still a viable idea? Well, I'm going to give you guys a breakdown as to what my partners and I have been doing in Cleveland, Ohio. If you guys been following, we just closed on our property back in January 2025 and we finally finished rehabbing it. It's finally fully stabilized and everything. And I'm going to give you guys the update and the breakdown in a little bit. All right, so this is going to be the breakdown and the updates so far in terms of what myself and my two other partners in this real estate game we're gonna we're gonna break down all the numbers. I'm gonna show you guys as to where we're at. So what you guys are seeing right now is that we purchased the actual property for $160,000. We needed, oh sorry, not 77,000. Originally it was $40,000 as the rehab budget, and this was supposed to be our cash, like our capital that's needed to close on the property and get the renovation going right away. Okay. So with these numbers, this was our situation, right? Rent, our operating expenses, property taxes, insurance. Like I found out that my insurance that we quoted for is quite high. So we're going to be shopping for better brokers for the next one. Property management, they're charging us $75 per unit every single month with a 5% maintenance fees that we're factoring in. So it's pretty standard stuff here, okay? So overall, we were supposed to cash flow about $878 US. This is after setting aside almost 20% of the rent for maintenance, any sort of repairs, all that stuff. So with that, with those numbers breaking down, we have about a 10% or 11% cash on cash return. So not bad, right? But then after getting into it, if you're going to be buying properties in the US and if you're going to be here in Toronto, I'm telling you guys, when it comes to the property inspection, try and go down there to meet with the property inspection or the property inspector and go through everything. Because my realtor at the time told me that, yeah, you got to address some of the windows and everything. And when I finally got there after closing and I happened to notice or look through the property, it was a lot worse than what the pictures and what everyone was telling me. We had to end up replacing 30 windows. So that was around, I think it was like $250 to $300 per window that we had to replace, right? And these windows didn't really add value, but down here, it technically did because this is fully updated. So we had to replace the windows. We had to replace the main drain stack for all 3 units. We had to replace all the gutters, did a lot of repairs on the roof and everything. This was not part of the original budget. So it ended up ballooning up to $135,000 as a total capital investment. And that changes our numbers to being like a 8% cash on cash return. Not better than the actual stock market, but what we're getting is leverage in an asset where you're going to have more control by renting it out, getting rent, because now with all the headaches that we're getting, and now that the property is finally stabilized, like all 4 units are actually renting out, we're actually collecting around $3,758, fully stabilized. Okay. But let's just go with these numbers. 3,700 is pretty close enough. Okay. The goal is to BRRRR this out, the BRRRR strategy. So if I were to explain it for all the people that don't know what the BRRRR is. So the B represents the buy. The second represents the rehab. Third is to rent it out. Then to refinance. And then repeat. So this is the BRRRR strategy. And we've done the buy, we've done the rehab as bad as it was, right? We did all that. We fully rented it out. Now we're in the process of refinancing, okay? And the great thing when we ordered that appraisal and started the process of refinancing the actual property, ended up being around $294,000. Even though originally I was banking on a rehab or after repair value of $220,000, ended up being $294,000. So based on the DSCR loan rules here for us foreign nationals, we're only allowed to take 70% potentially. Usually it's 65%, but 70% being on the high end of allowing us to pull out the value, so loan to value of being 70, loan to value, yeah, being around 70%. If we're going based off of 70%, then that means that we can potentially pull out 205,000. Okay. If you look on the screen here, the original loan was 112. So if you do the math, a quick math here, I think we paid down about 110. We should get, what was it? Quick math, 95, is it? Yeah, 95K for 205, right? Am I doing this math right? Hold on, let me see here. 294, oops. Multiply that by 7. Yeah, 205 minus 110. Yeah, so around $95,000 in terms of a cash or refinance that we're gonna be getting. Okay, so our original budget that we had in here was 134,000. Okay, there's still cash in here and everything because we're just paying for the carrying cost. But if we manage to pull out 95,000, what we really will have left in the property, let's see here, we'll have about $39,000 left in the property because we managed to pull out 95, and we're just going to put it towards the next deal. This was a okay BRRRR. If it wasn't for the windows, the roof, the gutters, if it wasn't for all of that additional spending that we did, instead of having $39,000 left in the property, we would probably just have about 9,000. Hold on, it's getting busy here, right? Just having about $9,000 left in the property, and that I would call that like a 90% successful BRRRR strategy, right? Or BRRRR, but it is what it is. So we're managing to pull out $95,000. We're going to do this again, and if you guys want to see the pictures, I don't have the pictures of the actual before pictures of this, but the current pictures right now is this was the finished product. Pot lights everywhere, black vinyl floorings, new appliances. We painted some of the cabinets, but we got new countertops that are stone because the decision at that time is that if I'm going to pay $400, $500 to replace the countertop because they're all damaged, but pay just $700 for stone, I went with the stone because I'm trying to go for that, that pop. So yeah, this is the stone countertop and everything, right? This is the 4-bedroom unit. These are all new windows, right? All these ones are brand new windows. Every single window was like smashed, cracked, right? And it wasn't sealed. It was very old. But this is a 4-bedroom unit, and this is typical amongst all the units. The 2-bedroom, the 1-bedroom, same style finishing. This is a very good property to hold. Once we deal with all these other smaller little maintenance things that we're dealing with right now, when we pull out the capital, we're going to move on to a duplex that we're going to try and close. But for now, this is just the breakdown. And if you were to ask me if, based on the numbers you guys see here, if I managed to pull out, let me see here, if we're going to go with 294, 30%, yeah, same rate and everything. No, maybe like a 3% closing cost. What does that look like now? So even if we pull out like the value or the equity out of this home, and with the new loan and everything, we're going to be cash flowing around $200 a month, which again, 20% of your rent is being set aside for capital expenditure spending or maintenance and things like that, and vacancy. If you really want to play that and you want to take that 20%, extra 20%, and use it for the next down payment for the next property and stabilize that very quickly, a lot of people are doing that. So really, this $200 of cash flow every single month, it's actually around $920 every single month. So not bad, but if we're going to go on conservative numbers, our cash on cash return will be 2.5%. Most of the capital is pulled out. We're going to be moving on to the next property. Hopefully, again, in the next 30 days to 60 days from now. We're just going back and forth with an offer that we did on a duplex. It's a side-by-side duplex, all brick, right? 3 bedrooms each. The great thing about these side-by-side duplexes is that it's the same floor plan. Imagine a semi-detached home where there's just two single-family homes attached, and both sides, the layout are the same, and it's all brick. So this is a really good catch if we can actually close on this. We're trying to negotiate this down to $150,000. They listed the price at like 175 right now. We're trying to bring it down to 150. AR value, like ARV value, we're looking at maybe 220 as being a duplex. It's in a better neighborhood, better rent and everything. Again, that won't be a perfect BRRRR, but if we buy for 150 and we put in about 20K of rehab, like cosmetic, like this is a very high budget for cosmetic work, but I'm banking that. So it's going to be 170 here. If it's going to be a 220,000 like ARV, then I think it's going to be, if I remember not mistaken, with a 70% loan to value, we're looking at 154. Oops. Yeah, 154K. Why do I keep on doing that? 154K, right? Based on this math and this, money is still going to be left in the actual property because we need 150,000. The down payment on that is 45,000 plus $20,000, right? So 65,000 as being the total cash investment. But the loan on 150,000 is 105. If we refinance it at 220, which is the 154, and we pay off the 105, we will just get back $49,000, but we sunk in 65,000. So if we minus our $65,000, so 65,000 minus our 49,000 from the cash out, we're looking at getting or leaving $16,000 in on this property. Not the perfect BRRRR, but it's a good piece of property with good rent and everything. So we're willing to invest $16,000 remaining in the property just so that we can hold this property. And then we move the $49,000 we're getting right here onto the next property. It's not the perfect BRRRR strategy, but we're doing this in a high interest rate environment right now. And when they start cutting rates, the BRRRR strategy is going to be more popular again. A lot of people are going to flood in all that stuff, but we're trying to get in, stabilize a good foundation of real estate, but way before they start cutting rates like crazy. So anyway, so this is the update as to where we're at right now. If you like what we got going on here, if you want to learn more, just follow, stick around. But until then, guys, I'm signing off. If you like this content, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.